Hi there. If you're watching this, I hope you're having an amazing holiday season and New Year's with your family and loved ones. I wanted to just reflect on the newsletter so far and what you can expect in this coming year. I started to write this newsletter and publish online about my experiences because, frankly, it has been the most meaningful part of my life, evolving spiritually and evolving my consciousness. And it felt like, frankly, I just couldn't not share it with people. And as I started publishing, I didn't really know if this was going to be just something that became nothing, whether it was just going to be a way to express myself, which was much needed because for a long time, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about these topics, especially as we were going through an M&A process with my company Troops. But now that I've been doing this for about 4.5 months, I must say that I've absolutely loved the process of creating content on the subject of consciousness and spiritual growth, as well as just found a ton of meaning and purpose in the feedback and response that I've gotten from what feels like hundreds of people on how sharing these stories and ideas have helped them get clarity on parts of their own life and spiritual journey, as well as just help them understand things in ways that perhaps were previously more difficult. I'm excited to continue to write about this stuff, to create podcasts, videos. And with all this feedback and looking into 2023, I have more inspiration than ever. I really just see this as an opportunity to help people that are on a similar path and are trying to make sense of it all. And for that reason, I'm really excited about trying to reach the largest number of people that may find this interesting or helpful. One thing I can say about this whole process is that in many ways, it's felt like a spiritual coming out party. For a long time, this was kind of like my little secret thing that I did on my own time and didn't really talk about it because, frankly, most people in my life were not interested in these topics. This caused a lot of just unnecessary loneliness because it turns out that as I've started to write about this, many people in my life, ones that I knew were kind of interested and ones I had no idea, have raised their hand and I've developed deeper relationships with them. I've also met a bunch of new people that are really awesome. If you're in that position, I encourage you to consider writing in the new year. Consider creating some form of content to share this part of your life. And who knows, maybe you'll be throwing a rope to somebody that would also like some fellowship along the way, which is so important. This topic of how do you handle relationships, friendships as you grow spiritually is a little bit of a tricky one and one I have a lot of thoughts and ideas on. And so I hope to be writing more about that in the new year, but I wanted to just say thank you to everybody who has been following along with this content. And I really appreciate your general interest and support of the things that I'm creating. Moving ahead into the new year, I'm excited to continue to try to publish weekly. I love writing. It's usually how I try to start my day. That being said, my number one priority as for writing is actually a longer form content in the form of a book. I've been feeling called to write about a lot of these spiritual teachings in the context of my own journey, which is living in a modern world, running a tech company, chasing all the things that society told us that would make us happy, yet having this massive inner transformation along the way. And generally, I think there isn't a whole lot of new spiritual information out there that has not been said. But what there is that's unique is the particular context and story of individuals that allow ourselves to see ourselves in that story so that we can see ourselves in everyone. And so I'm excited to just put that out into the world and see what happens. I'm kind of thinking of it as like a mashup of if Untethered Soul, The Map of Consciousness by David Hawkins, The Surrender Experiment all jumbled into one. That's kind of what feels like is emerging from my creative process. So we'll see. I have about 100 pages and I'm actively working on it. So keep on the lookout for some potential invites to an early draft. The other update is I am going to be adding a paid option to this Substack. The number one reason I'm doing that is because in order to reach the largest number of people possible, Substack promotes paid writers. This shouldn't come as a surprise. Their whole business model is to basically have a percentage of the paid subscriptions come to them. So they're incentivized to promote paid publications. And so I'm going to offer a paid part of this publication. The other reason I'm doing this is, frankly, I just spend a lot of money on producing content between the editing process for things like videos and podcasts, and even the writing, image creation, software, hosting, freelancers. It just ends up actually being a fair amount of money, and it would be amazing to just offset those costs. And so if you believe in what I'm doing and you'd like to support me, it would be greatly appreciated. If not, that's all good too. I believe money is simply an energy exchange. And if you would like to send some energy my way for all of the time, effort, and money I'm putting into this and sending your way, that would be cool. But again, it's all good. As far as special benefits of becoming a paid subscriber, I don't really know what those are going to be right now. My number one priority is that these ideas and experiences and content reaches the largest number of people as possible. That is my goal for this. And so I don't want to gate any content that could potentially help someone. I'm not looking to do some type of model where you get this content if you pay and you don't get that content if you don't. Maybe it'll evolve into that. I don't really know, but I'm definitely optimizing for helping the most number of people that I can. And this is what makes sense to me at that point. Maybe this will change. The other thing is it's really important for me to maintain my creative integrity and make sure that there isn't any temptation to do things based on people paying me. And I've seen this happen before where different content creators start to tailor their work to the needs of what will drive particular dollars or what people find interesting. I don't want to dilute any of the creativity that is flowing through me. So that is why for now, I'm continuing to offer this work to anybody that chooses to read it. And so again, the way that I would think about upgrading to paid is you just really like what I'm doing, you appreciate it, and you want to support me. From a content standpoint, my general rule of thumb has always been that I write about the things that I feel inspired to write about. A lot of times I have a big list of ideas that I think are interesting, but I will have some revelation or something interesting pop into my awareness and decide that that's what I'm going to write about. And so I don't really know what 2023 will hold, but there are some particular topics that I think are really, really cool that are on my list that I'd like to write about. One of those is how consciousness affects the physical body. I have a lot of learnings there. Along those lines, how the rules of reality evolve as your identification shifts or consciousness expands. This might sound crazy. It really is. I'm excited to write more about it. I had a ton of patterns on spiritual drivenness that I imagine lots of people that really care about spiritual growth are going through, and I'd love to illuminate some of those so that maybe you don't have to go through all the things that I did. I want to write a lot about just some of the new paradigms in business that I believe will and should emerge. There's this notion of a conscious first company or business that I'm very excited about, and many different facets of that conversation that I would love to talk about. And then lastly, there's a lot of just difficult things in the spiritual path that I feel like people are not talking about. Things like going through long periods of malaise, things like how do you handle friends and colleagues when you're no longer resonating, physical challenges. I feel like I've been through it all. There's probably a lot more I'm going to go through. And I just want to let you know you're not alone, and I want to talk about it. And so I'll certainly be creating content on those things. So What can you do besides just being awesome and subscribing and following my work, which I'm so grateful for? There's a few different ways that you can help me. The first is if you know any interesting people that are playing at the intersection of evolving consciousness, business, technology, modern life, I would love to talk to those people or learn about them or follow their work. I'm constantly trying to find other people that are doing interesting things to help humanity as we enter into this new paradigm. And maybe they would be a good fit for an interview or maybe even just for me to learn from. So let me know if you know anybody. Also, topics. I, a lot of times, don't know that something is interesting until someone tells me. And a lot of times I get creative inspiration from people asking me questions about things or telling me that something was very helpful. For example, I had a friend reach out to me about my post on practicing surrender in modern life and told me how helpful it was. And that inspired me to create this whole video series on a whim. And so don't be shy. If you have ideas or topics or things that you're curious about or struggling with that you think that I might have perspective on, let me know. Third thing, if you're a writer on Substack, I would love a recommendation. This is the number one way that people find me on Substack and find this content that seems to be helping a lot of people. So in the vein of helping others, a recommendation would be amazing. It takes just 30 seconds. Only do it if you actually really enjoy what I'm doing and genuinely recommend it to people. But if you do, that would be helpful so that more people can discover my work. The same goes for becoming a paid subscriber. Again, my main motive here isn't to get rich off Substack. It's really just to make this spread as far as it can be and also not to be running at such a deficit to create all of this. So that would be awesome if that's something that you feel called to do. Thank you so much for your support. I'm really excited about the new year. I hope that there's more transformation, creativity, unconditional love and trust and joy in your own experience. And I'm very humbled to be able to share mine with all of you. I hope that all of you have an amazing holidays in the next couple of days. And I look forward to hopefully seeing and hearing from you more in 2023.